It started when I was working in Kinsale in Ireland at the Further Education College there, and we started looking around for, there must be places who are using permaculture principles and sustainability thinking and systems thinking to work out how cities and towns and communities are going to get through peak oil successfully. And we couldn't find any, so we just improvised and did a 20-year plan for the town of Kinsale based on the idea that where we got to at the end could be better than where we start from now. I think what's changed for us really over the last couple of years has been firstly how the idea of peak oil has moved from being largely a fringe idea to something now talked about by a number of governments and a lot of leading organisations. It's really moved from being considered a very odd kind of idea to part of the political mainstream now really. This is a process that you start and you catalyse and you have no idea where it's going to go or what's going to come out of it. What does a local authority look like whose development plan for the next 20 years is based on the end of the age of cheap oil, on cutting carbon by 9% a year like we actually are going to need to? What does that look like? It's an enormous question, but what's really exciting is today I think we've sowed the seeds of people starting to ask those questions. It was really fascinating when about 2 years into transition and it really starting to gain some traction, people started coming along and saying, transition is a really fascinating piece of design work. Transition is a design project. When faced with peak oil and climate change and the need for collective community responses to that, maybe we need to look at this as being a collective design exercise. How do we design a way through from where we are now to where we want to get? There's a lot of value, I think, in acknowledging the work that people do like this. When you're actually doing work which comes to be seen as innovative or pioneering or whatever, it's generally the people who do that have ploughed a fairly lonely furrow for quite a long time. It's about the rewriting of stories, collective cultural stories, the myth, the narratives that we tell ourselves. The idea that we can just carry on as we are, that technology can solve everything, or that everything is just going to collapse and unravel very quickly. And what we don't have are the stories about the generation, the culture that looks something like peak oil and climate change square in the face and responds with compassion and creativity and ingenuity. That's the story that transition is trying to tell.